Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights at the March 2021 virtual version of the Metals Investor Forum. And with me today, I have Cal Everett, the President, CEO, and Director of Liberty Gold, LGD on the venture, I believe. And also, it's got an OTC listing that I don't think either one of us can remember, but you can see on the website. But Liberty Gold, principal asset portfolios in the States, flagship project Black Pine. And so, Cal, can you give us an idea of Black Pine and what you've done so far and what we should expect forward on the Black Pine Gold project?
Sure. Thanks, Joe. It's going to be a busy year at Black Pine because most of our total company budget this year is going to be spent on that discovery. And Black Pine is a district scale oxide gold system, and we've got permitted for drilling right now 11.9 square kilometers in a planar view of the entire target area. But that really is about 60-70% of the gold system. That's just what's being permitted to drill. And so we're waiting on our last few drill holes from last year's drill program. Once we have those assays in hand, hopefully over the next week or two, we'll be able to publish those numbers, whatever they are, when we put them into the market. We'll deliver those results to a resource estimator and an auditor of that resource estimator out of Toronto. And it'd probably be the end of April and beginning of May that we'll come out with a maiden resource estimate on Black Pine. And we're telegraphing to the market that internally we're kind of looking at around a 2 million oxide gold ounce resource as the very first resource on Black Pine. And that would cover probably a 1.8 square kilometer maiden pit area. And that's about 15% of the total target. So it gives you a sense of the potential ounces and scale of the system. As soon as we get that resource published, then we'll initiate an immediate PEA. That should take around 4 months to complete. While we're doing the PEA, the drills will start in about 3 weeks at Black Pine. And this year we're going to double shift drills because we have a lot of money in treasury. And so one RC rig usually operates on a single shift basis per day. We're going to double shift these machines. So they're going to be 3 RC rigs that'll be phased in and double shifted in one core rig for the whole year. So we're budgeted at 56,000 meters of drilling so far, but we think it'll probably push up towards 70,000 meters. 40% of that drill budget, Joe, will end up going into converting inferred to indicated ounces in the maiden resource area. So that means that once the PEA comes out, we can launch, should we choose, an immediate move into a pre-feasibility all in the same year. At the same time, metallurgy will come in for mid-year and another 50 column tests, and then you're going to see nonstop drill results. We're going to kind of be spewing them consistently into the market here. And a lot of the regional stuff is going to be in that new plan of operations permit area, which gives us another 4.6 kilometers of this gold system that effectively is undrilled, but is surrounded by oxide. So that's a pretty high priority target for us. And at the same time, we are going to be drilling our second deposit, Goldstrike, in southwest Utah, and then also doing a little bit of work on our Turkish project.
Okay, just for the viewers, what we're talking about here is we're in southern Idaho, but we're talking about a system like a Carlin system that's fairly well known in Nevada. And the importance of oxidation on this is because Carlin systems tend to be refractory and require pre-oxidation before they're leached by cyanide. But if you can find an oxidized deposit, then you could leach it on surface. You crush it, then you use a cyanide solution and make recoveries, which is lower cost. And if you can, and then you could basically have a lower grade deposit that just makes a lot of money. So one thing about Black Pine that's interesting, very interesting, is that it used to be a mine, but you're drilling deeper and still finding the oxidation to be rather pervasive.
Yeah, it's a benefit of having where the water table is. All this oxide is above the water table. And once you go below the water table, it can become problematic. So when we go look at the pit floors, they're all dry at 100 meters depth. When we drill down to 450 meters in a stacked oxide gold system, not a drop of water is coming out of those holes. You don't want water where you don't want it when you're doing a heap leach operation, and we're not dealing with sulfides here at all. So it's kind of a unique, like, district scale oxide system, and just the way it's located And the fact that the project is in the dry part of the Great Salt Lake, there's no fish-bearing streams, there's no timber values, there was a forest fire there over 20 years ago. We don't have to, property is fully reclaimed. It's bonded by the previous operator. It's got so many benefits on just where it's located and having power to site. It's quite a unique discovery in the right location.
In addition, you've just added this new area to the east. And what's interesting about it, it's just under a thin layer of post-mineral cover, but potentially it could have the same type of mineralization, the same types of host rocks that you've seen in what you're calling your discovery focus area.
Yeah, well, we know it does because we've already drilled a couple holes at the rangefront area right through the sandstone cover and confirmed the oxides there and matched up with historical holes. What we didn't do at the time was really understand the system. So we drilled those holes maybe down 120, 140 meters. We're still in oxide in those holes. So we have to continue deepening that because the entire thickness of perhaps 450 plus meters is sitting under that oxide, under that sandstone cap rock that it doesn't carry any gold. So we have to drill the full thickness there.
Okay. Well, Black Pine is obviously the flagship, and as you said, the majority of the budget's related to it. But also, Goldstrike represents an asset that another junior might only have as its flagship. Could you give us a little bit of a background on the Goldstrike asset?
Sure. We did a PEA on that in 2018. I think there was 1,700 holes in it, and it came out at 59 million tons of 0.48 grams of gold, of oxide gold. And it would projected at that time at $1,300 gold to have an after-tax IRR of 29% and a 7.5-year mine life to produce 95,000 ounces of gold a year. So a lot of that, we still have lots of room to increase the size of that resource, but we're going in there with a drill in about 3 weeks for 7 months to upgrade the inferred ounces to indicated. So hopefully we can get both Black Pine and Goldstrike directed towards a pre-feas study at roughly the same time, which is going to be unique for the Great Basin. Nobody has two of these.
Okay, and that asset's actually in Utah, correct?
Southwest Utah, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Then the other interesting part of this is that the last time you guys raised money was maybe about a year and a half ago, and you haven't raised money since. And and you're obviously exploring at a pretty good clip with respect to meterage, but how have you avoided going back to the equity markets while you're actually exploring at a pretty good clip at Black Pine?
Well, we had effectively, I think, too many projects and assets in the company, and you're spending a lot of your money on G&A, which not producing any results. So we moved 9 assets out, 8 projects and 1 NPI royalty for an aggregate return value of about, right now it stands around 43 million Canadian, but that's cash, a lot of cash and a lot of equity as well. In the end, we ended up with six royalties on some of those projects, on a group of projects, 9.5% of 3 companies and 19.5% of a 4th company. That all comes into us as part of those asset sales. And we have 1 more project in Turkey that we're looking at some way to monetize that asset. But we get that cash comes in from there. So we get another payment from our last Turkish project sale of $6 million US on August 15th. That's bank guaranteed this year and another 6 next year. That's non-dilutional to the shareholders. It's keeping the capital structure completely functional without going through a massive amount of dilution. And that's what we are avoiding by doing this, right? So that's kind of how we've operated the company, and we've been quite successful of the results from the capital that we've raised.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is you're divesting of assets that the market's giving you 0 for.
That's correct.
All right, and okay, so we're gonna close this out soon, but just for people that don't know or are looking at and are piqued, the company's piqued their interest, what should people look forward to now in the next 6 to 12 months? Just a bit of a summary of some transformational stuff because of the potential resource right now for Black Pine.
Well, it's obviously the resource of PEA and an advancement to free fees and a massive drill program at Black Pine and a renewed drill program at Goldstrike. But we're also in the process now of hopefully having ready for the market a maiden resource estimates for 5 deposits on our last project in Turkey. And that would be 1 supergene all copper deposit, 3 porphyry copper golds, and 1 pure oxide deposit. And there's also the 3rd largest silver company in Turkey is sitting on that project. We own 62.9% of it. And then we'll make a decision of whether how we monetize that. We have options. We can either monetize the project through sale or give it to our shareholders. I have to take a look at those resource numbers when they come in and make a decision.
Great, thank you. Looks like Liberty Gold has a lot of funded news flow over at least the next 12 months. So thanks very much. That's Cal Everett, President, CEO, and Director of Liberty Gold, with their flagship asset being Black Pine in Southern Idaho. Thank you very much, Cal. Appreciate it. And that's it for me, Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insight at the March 2021 version of the Metals Investment Forum virtual. Thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful.